because Brooke can tell you I battle with it a lot. It's one of those things that just, it'll, and I'm going to say this tonight, it's going to hold you captive. It's going to tie you up, it's going to chain you up, it's going to take you down, and it's going to take you prison. And tonight, I challenge you to listen to what I have to say. If you don't want to, at least act like it. I want you talking. I shouldn't have to say that anyways if that still happens. But tonight I'm going to start out. I've got some questions I'm going to ask you. And not necessarily that I need you to answer them like, really answer them. But just ask yourself, answer them to yourself or whatever. But tonight, how many times have you had a certain situation that really isn't something that you just, it's like something that just rolls over in your mind again and again and again, like a negative thing that has happened, like an altercation maybe with a friend or a certain incident somewhere here or there, but you just continue to replay it in your head and it bothers you. I know there's been many a time in my life I can remember this one instant. I was in the 8th grade. And I can remember it was me and another guy that I don't even know. I don't know where he's at. I don't even barely remember his name. I think his name is Gary. But anyways, isn't that such an old school name? Gary. Good time. Anyways, sorry. But I can remember we were at break. And we rode the school bus together. I was 8th grade. And we would ride the school bus together. And I wouldn't necessarily say we were like best friends, but we were friends, I guess, whatever. We didn't dislike each other. Well, that one day I can remember. I don't remember the complete details of it, but I remember that me and him were picking at each other, like to the fact that like I would be standing there, and he come up and just hit me in the back, just cause, and we were picking really. We were picking. It wasn't anything stupid or anything. Well, I was like, I'm going to get you back, man. And it was just one of those things. And he's standing with a crowd, a group of guys that were in the same grade as me. Well, they had no clue what was going on. So I come up and I nail him. And they're like, oh, they just made a big deal out of it. Well, it got under his skin. And he come up trying to swing. And I think we both got a couple of licks on each other. And of course, ended up going to the principal's office. I know how the thing goes. But I just, sitting there in the principal's office, our principal's name was Mr. Walker, cool dude, man, fastest guy you'll ever meet, I swear. This guy was like 50-something years old, and he could run like a 4.3 in his 40s. This dude was fast. Anyways, he's sitting there, and he's a cool dude. He's been principal for years. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, what in the crap went wrong? How did we end up here? And I just kept replaying that in my mind of like, man, maybe should I have not done that or whatever? But it's just one of, and even still to this day, I'm like, I don't know what happened. It was weird. Anyways, we both got a couple of licks in on each other. I don't necessarily call it a fight. I don't know what you would call it. Anyway, we both got a couple of licks and went on back to class, and we were all good. Walked out of class and we were talking all good. So it was just one of those things. But I just continue to play that, and there's been other times in my life that I just replay things in my mind. And your thoughts are something that really they take over you. I could remember for like 2 days. That's all I could think about was that 30-second altercation, even if that long. But there's been things in our life that, a bad day, disagreement with a mom or dad, or disagreement with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or friend, whatever. But there's been times, but you'll just let that replay in your mind over and over and over. Or maybe it's one of those things where you allow something to, dude, will you let that down? That's way too high. But maybe it's one of those things that that something's going to happen maybe tomorrow, and you just play in mind, okay, how is this going to go? And you just kind of hit like future button and remember and just start thinking about things. Thinking about things that how it may go. Is it going to go good? Is it going to go bad? Is it going to go kind of so-so? Are we going to still be friends or whatever? How many of y'all had those before? And please don't tell me I'm the only one of this. Y'all have played things out in your head. Like right now, you're probably thinking, okay, what am I going to eat? When I get home, I'm going to do this. You've got things that roll around. You got those thoughts rolling around your head right now of how this is going to go, how that's going to go, or how this could have been different, or how I should have said this and I shouldn't have said that. Guys, sometimes we create scenarios in our mind. Like game shows. Okay, I'm going to tell you this. I started watching this game show called Deal With It. Deal With It. It's a Howie Mandel thing. It's amazing. It is awesome. It is so hilarious. So we've been watching that here the last couple of days, and I'm sitting and I'm thinking like these certain things. What it is a game show where they go to this restaurant or whatever, and so behind the scenes there's the guy and there's a famous person. Like I think Heidi Klum was there last night, and then Howie Mandel did one, and I don't remember all the other people. Anyway, so they go pick out this like couple and say the man. They're like, I'm gonna get the man. So they call him to the back and say, hey, you win $5,000 if you just do what I tell you to do. Okay, sure. So they put a bug in his ear and they listen. And they tell him to, like there was one instance where like him and his wife were sitting eating lunch. And he said, hey, you need to give the waitress 5 high fives. And so he just kept doing it. And his wife was like, what's wrong with him? And then the other one was, they were like, hey, tell your wife she's too fat, so stop eating the chips. And she wouldn't stop eating the chips. And so they're like, well, if she won't stop eating the chips, take the basket and throw it. Well, he took the basket. He's like, look, stop eating the chips. You're going to get big. And she just kept looking at it. So he took the basket and just threw the chips. Like in the middle of like out there in the courtyard, everybody's around there looking at him like, what the world is that doing? She gets up and walks off. Anyway, the reason I say that is like, I'm thinking, okay, I could definitely do that. I could do that. I think it would be better though if Brooke was the one with the bug in the ear and I'm the one that's taking it. But either way, I could imagine if I threw the chips and Brooke's sitting there, I couldn't imagine. Man, I'm talking about you guys. You just think about it. It's just like, it's on. It's on. But I just, in my mind, I play the scenario, and that may sound weird, but I'm like, I could do better than that. I remember as a kid, like, Price is Right. That's so old. Bob Barker was on it. Like the little Plinko dude. Like, I could, like, I'm like, no, don't place it there. Put it over here. And they're like, put it over here. They're over here hitting zeros. And I'm like, dude, I could hit $1,000, $10,000 every time. But I was playing in my mind of these things, and I create these scenarios. Maybe I'm just a weird one in here. But your thoughts are something that just every day, it's something that you do. You have to think. Now, sometimes I wonder if some people think before they speak, but you're supposed to. Anyway, tonight I've got some facts that I want to tell you. And maybe before this, sometimes in your life do you make those comments that like, nothing ever goes right for me? Has anybody ever said that? Nothing ever goes right for me. Everything I touch fails. Is that you? Or I'm always messing things up. I'm a mess up. Okay? Those are thoughts. Those aren't things that people say to you. Maybe people have, but they had to think it first too. It's thoughts. But 87 to 95% of illnesses that plague us today are direct results of our thought life. And that's true. They did a study. 87 to 95% of illnesses that plague us today are a direct result of our thought life. That's crazy. Basically saying most of the people, 95% of the people that are sick, the reason they're sick is because they thought about it. That's crazy. And you may think that is crazy, and that is crazy, but hey, it's true. I said too many crazies. But it's true. Think about this. The average person has over 30,000 thoughts a day. The average person has 30,000 different thoughts each day. At least that, if not more. That's wild. I tell you what, I dare you guys. I give you $100. Tomorrow, when you first wake up, you count how many thoughts you think. You lose track at like 10. I'm just saying. You don't realize it. Sometimes we're thinking and we don't even realize that we're thinking. Listen to this. Research shows that fear, on its own, just fear, triggers more than 1,400 known physical and chemical responses and activates more than 30 different hormones. It's crazy. That's crazy. So, with me saying that, we don't realize how many times thoughts, how many times thinking in our mind what it does to us in our everyday life. If you could literally take, if there was this little jump drive in your head and you could take it out every day and it just records the thoughts that you think each day about yourself, about someone else, about situations, whatever. And you could plug it into a computer and it would just pop them up. man, I think it would probably wow us. We're made to think. I hope you think. Some of us probably think a little more than others. Some of you just don't want to think. Some people I do. I think Brooke has a sister that I swear she does not think at all. And I don't mean that ugly. I'm not talking about like when she talks, it's like, did she really say that? And it's not just one time, it's every time. Like when she opens her mouth, it's just crazy. You can't stand to be around her for like 5 minutes and it's like, please leave. Just get out of here, okay? She's just, I'm telling you, okay? I swear. Brooke is nothing like her. But, isn't that a cool background, by the way? I like the background. It's so cool. But, sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted there. I just thought out of the corner of my eye, kind of scared me for a moment. I had a thought. But, thinking is something that you naturally do. And so God began to show me and begin to just, and here's the thing, God speaks to me personally before I can even speak to you guys or anyone else. So personally I began to just analyze my thought process, and I did not realize how much thinking holds me back. Makes me think that I can't do certain things that I could probably do. Or whatever. But now let me tell you, thinking sometimes is very smart. Because a couple of weeks ago we went down to the skate rink, and I'm like, I thought about it, like, no, I can't do it. Okay, there's certain things that I know I just absolutely cannot do. There's some things that I might could do, and I would try. But I'm telling you, skating is not a thing. Who in here cannot skate? Absolutely can't. Thank you. I feel better now. I thought I was all by myself. I saw some weird looks. Okay, skating. Yeah, me and Carly, we were buddies. Like skating, it's just not. I'm telling you guys, I can't. Me and her, I remember I got one of the guys in the church that plays the guitar on Sunday mornings. Me and him went and found a pool stick and a pool table. We just played pool. I'm like, dude, I just can't. I'm sorry. Skating's not for me. Okay, there's some things that I'm big enough that I say, hey, I just can't do it. If it means I lose my man card, then I'm losing my man card. I can't skate. So sometimes thinking is a good thing, but it depends on where you allow it to go. It depends on where you allow it to go. Understand, here's one thing, and you're going to hear me say this several times. Understand that the battle is decided in the mind. Understand that in the Old Testament, if you know anything about the Bible, New Testament, Old Testament, there was more battles, physical battles fought in the Old Testament. That's how they settle things. They're like, fine, you don't like this? Then we're going to kill each other. Let's go at it. We'll be here tomorrow at sunrise, and they just go at it. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. But in the New Testament, battles did happen, but not necessarily huge wars. Individual battles happen, but most of the things that happen, and it really speaks a lot about it in the New Testament, some of the leaders in the Old Testament, their thinking was that I can't do this. So the battle is fought mostly in the mind. And understand that today that the devil knows that, you know what, he's got a new strategy. He's got a new strategy. His strategy is like, look, I'm going to mess with your mind. And here's the thing, it's been going on for centuries, and it's still working. You don't realize how much the enemy entices you, how many lies that we actually believe, and we don't even realize. He's slick, guys, he's slick. He knows. He's slick. He knows how to say it to you, when to say it to you, and how many times to say it to you for you to believe it. He knows. He's not crazy. So the battle is mostly fought in the mind. Listen to this. In Romans 7, Paul says, why do I do the things that I don't want to do? And the things that I want to do, I end up not doing. Does that seem like some of y'all in here? You want me to read that again? I don't think some of y'all got that. Why do I do, Paul said this in Romans 7, why do I do the things that I don't want to do, but the things that I want to do, I end up not doing? I can raise my hand to that. Because there's so many, we have good intentions and we have good thoughts. We can play scenarios out and just see things happening positively, but we end up just not doing them. Because in that good thinking, negative thoughts also come in, and we begin to believe them over. You don't realize that we will believe negative before positive. That's how enticed and how messed up that we are. You can take just a random people, you can take 10 random people, and you tell them things that they can do, but then come back and tell them things they can't do, and they're going to just dwell on the things they can't do and not the things they can do. I'm guilty of that. I hate to lose. I hate to fail. And so I'll begin to think about what I can't do over the things that I possibly could do. So just automatically, we need to realize that, you know what, we're automatically negative thinkers, and that's not the way God created us. That's not what God said that we were made to do. We are going to put you on earth, and everything you can't do, just remind yourself every day, you just don't do it. That's not what He said. And Paul even realized it. Paul, of all people, he battled with so many thoughts in his mind. I can relate to Paul a little bit. Paul was a martyr. He was a murderer. That's all he wanted to do. He was a Pharisee. He was a murderer. Anybody that had anything to do with Jesus, he was killing them. And then one day Jesus called him, and you know the story, called him and said, hey, I need you to work for me now. And from that moment on, Paul ran for his life, in prison so many times, beaten so many times, ridiculed so many times. And I can guarantee you through that process, he was reminded, you know what, where you used to come from. But you know what, the thing was, is Paul decided that I'm going to believe the things that are of God and not the things of this world. And I look at my life, and I remember the time when God called in, and I'm sitting on the upper balcony of the Cathedral of the Cross in Birmingham at youth convention. I think it was in 99 or 2000. 2000, I believe it was. It was the year after I graduated school. I'm sitting up there with the rest of my youth group. Brooks' uncle was my youth pastor at the time. And I'm sitting up there having a great time. It was packed house. And I don't remember the name of the speaker. But I'm sitting up there, and it's towards the end of the service, and I stand up. Everybody stands up, so I stand up. And where I'm sitting at, I'm on the front row of the balcony up top. And I'm looked down, and God said at that moment, and I don't know that to that point that I'd ever heard God really speak that clearly to my life. He said, I'm calling you to this. This is the heart that I'm giving you. And I was like, whoa, hold up. And automatically, I began to reject it. Automatically, I begin to tell God the things that I can't do. God, that I don't have any pastors in my background, in my family. I hardly have people in my family that go to church. God, I don't know the Bible that well. I'm not going to Bible school. I'm not doing this. And I begin to tell God every excuse why I couldn't do what He said I could do. And I begin to allow those things to control me. And so many years, and even I'll be real with you guys right now. There's still, at this moment, still where I'm at in my life now, I still battle with it. I still deal with it. I can't. I tell my kids I can't, but how many times I tell myself I can't? We're good at encouraging others most of the time. But when's the last time you encouraged yourself? It's tonight, it's about you as an individual. It's not about the one you're sitting next to. I mean, they're listening to me too. But it's about you, and it's about your thoughts. It's about the things that maybe God has spoken into your life and you just said you can't, or you won't, or you give Him all these excuses. Guys, tonight we've got to stop believing the limitations God has on our life. We've got to stop believing the limitations on our life. Because limitations come from our thoughts. I'm not talking about physical things. I'm talking about our thoughts. Tonight we've got to realize, and what I want you to begin to do is stop believing the limitations on your life. Stop. And I know that's easier said than done, but stop. Tonight I want to define the name of course, my message is Poisonous Thoughts. Tonight I want to define the word poisonous. Poisonous is defined as causing or capable of causing death or illness if taken into the body. It's venomous. If it's taken into the body, it could be deadly. Y'all know what happens when a poisonous snake bites you. If you don't get to the hospital quick, you're dead. There ain't no ifs, buts, you're dead. And it's the same way with our thoughts. If they're poisonous, when they get in and they begin to work through the system and they begin to work through our body, it causes spiritual death. But the thing is when it comes to our physical or to our mental or our spiritual, the alarm doesn't go off because you don't actually feel a bite because the enemy is that smooth. He is that sneaky. He sneaks things in weird ways and you begin to believe it. The thing is it doesn't kill you as quick as a snake bite. He don't want you to die that quick. He wants you to suffer. He wants to control you. He wants you to believe Him. Basically, it's like a revenge thing. It's like, God, you see that guy right now, I died in your face. And that's what the devil wants to do. He wants to take your life and he wants to circulate those poisonous thoughts and he wants you to begin to believe them. And not only does he want you to believe them, but he wants you to live by them. And not only does he want you to live by them, but he wants you to walk into them. And walk into them, not only does he want you to do that, but he wants you to share it with someone else. And it becomes a cycle, and that's exactly the plan that he has, and it's worked so far. Tonight I want to challenge you, and tonight I want you to recognize those thoughts in your life. Those things that maybe, there's nothing wrong with realizing things that you can't do. I don't think I'm going to hell, and I don't think God's displeased with me because I can't escape. Okay? So there's some things that you can't do, and it's okay to admit it, but when it begins to hold you back, and especially in your walk with God, then I would consider those poisonous. I would consider those dangerous. Tonight, there's something I want us all to repeat after me. It's a thought that counts. Say it with me. It's a thought that counts. Come on, you better than that. It's the thought that counts. You can say it louder than that. It's the thought that counts. I want you to get it because it is the thought that does count. No matter what we do in our life, it begins with a thought. Whether it's in disobedience or in obedience, it begins with a thought. So tonight I need you to understand that. I need you to grip that and apply that. It starts with your thinking. Right now, some of you are sitting in here thinking that you're worthless, that you're nothing. It starts with your thought process. It doesn't start with somebody saying it to you, because that stops right here. When people speak to you negative things, it stops here. You choose to let it come in. You choose to let it live and to breathe and to birth and become life in you. You choose that. That is your choice. Tonight you make the choice of your thoughts. Tonight you choose what you believe and you choose what you don't believe. Tonight I want to give you 2 ways that you can do away with poisonous thoughts. Just 2. And I'm going to speed through these pretty quick. 2 ways to do away with poisonous thoughts. The first one is that you need to recognize and reject them. You need to know them, you need to see them, and you need to get rid of them. You need to recognize them and reject them. My verse for tonight is Psalms 4:23, and it says, "Carefully guard your thoughts because they are the source of true life." They are the source of true life. You got to guard those things. So it's not just things that Pastor Joey said to you. It's things that the Word has told you. It's the things that the Word has warned you. It's just like that sign that says, "Beware of dog, no trespassing." God's saying, hey, guard your thoughts. You got to guard your thoughts. You got to guard them. You got to care for them. It's like an infant. You care for that child. If you let that baby lay there and you don't feed it, it's going to die. He said, hey, take your thoughts and take care of them. Take care of your thoughts. 2 Corinthians 10:4, it says, "We use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments." Understand that our weapons have power to unlock the prisoner. And that's you. If you allow God to work in you, inside of you and in you, you have the weapon to unlock yourself. You have the thing to unlock that's holding you captive. Tonight the word power in the Greek translation is called dunamis, which means dynamite. Dynamite, power. It's not just power. It's dynamite. That's the kind of power that God has put in your life. That's the kind of power that you have ownership of if you allow Him to live inside of you. You have the dynamite power. So it doesn't matter how much thought process the enemy has tried to make you believe on the negative side. It doesn't matter how many times someone has spoke negative things to you, you have dynamite to blow it, to blast it, to get rid of it. But we just allow it to sit there with the fuse in our hand, and we don't ever light it. Because we truly haven't grasped the power that God has given us. In verse 5 it says, we destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. Understand that any thought that's negative, here, just use this illustration for me really quick. When a thought comes in your ears, because that's where it's going to come from, when someone says something negative to you, when the enemy whispers something in your ear and wants you to believe it, and it comes into your ear, the word that verse just said, take and grab it. Grab it. I'm going to tell you something. When I got a crazy poodle at my house, she ain't got a lick of sense. She runs crazy. If I open the door to her kennel, she's hitting things all over the place, and my golden retriever's looking at her like she's crazy. But there's times whenever I open the door to go in the house, or let me rephrase that. If she's inside the house, and there's times that I open the front door, the back door, there's times if I don't want her to go outside, I got to grab her. I got to stop her. And here's the thing tonight, when thoughts come into your house, into your body, into your life, into your ears, you got to grab them. You got to grab them. Because you have the power, you have the ability to control your thoughts, their choices. You choose to believe what you don't want to believe. You choose to believe what you want to believe. So tonight you got to learn how to grab them, but not only do you learn how to grab them, you got to begin to shape them. Because you have power. Not only are you going to grab that ugly thing, that ugly thought, that ugly thing, and just look at it and stare at it, but you have the ability like clay and shape that thing and turn it into what you want it to be. Tonight, too many of us, you may be grabbing it, but you're just sitting there looking at it. Like, what do I do with you now? I'll tell you what you do with it. You take it, and you grab it, and you tell it that it's a lie, and you shape it into what you want it to be. And the Word will instruct you to do that. Tonight we've got to recognize and we've got to reject those things. I reject her from going in and out of the house, and I reject her from coming in the house. When she's nasty and it's raining and there's mud all over her feet, I am not letting her in my house. When she stinks and smells like a dead fish, she's not coming in my house. So tonight, if you got to use that in your mind, understand that the things that people say to you, those people that even if the enemy's whispering things at you and telling you can't do this because you're who you are and you have this disability, or whatever the case may be, you take it, you grab it, you shape it, you tell it. You're a liar. And I will not believe it. Tonight you got to do those things. Here's the thing. I've got 3 categories under this that I want you to realize. 3 things. 3 categories that will help you identify areas where you're given into poisonous thoughts. 3 of them. And I'm going to speed through these really quickly. The first one, negative thinking. Negative thinking. Or I can't do that. Man, and I don't have what it takes. Those negative thoughts in your life, they hold you captive. My life stinks. It's terrible. Nothing's going to go right. Tomorrow I know I'm going to make an F on the test just because the teacher hates me. I never can do anything right. Just negative, 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 negative. Negative, 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 negative. B, or number 2, those fearful or worrisome thoughts or thinking. I don't know if that's even a word or not. Fearful thinking. I'll just say it now. Let's say it. Fearful thinking. What if? What if this happens? I'm worried that it is going to turn out this way. Maybe God lays something on your heart and it's like, God, what if they reject me? What if? Guys, we can't live our life what if. We can't live our life like that. You worry about what somebody's going to say to you. You worry about what somebody's going to do to you. I think that's what controls most of your generation because of the peer pressure. Because you're worried if you say the name of Jesus to somebody, or if you say, hey man, this is what happened to me last week in service, what they're going to say to you. You live a life captive in fear. Understand that we are captivated by our thoughts. And 3, or C, dissatisfied thinking. There's nothing that ever satisfies you. I don't think this. I'm not happy about that. I wish my hair was a different color. My mom and dad bought me a car, but I understand. I wish it was something different. I can't stand the school that I go to. I wish I went to another school. Nothing ever satisfies you. Nothing ever is satisfying. You go to McDonald's and Mom and Daddy gives you enough money to get you something off the dollar menu, but you really want a number 10. I don't know what a number 10 is. But you're just about $3 short and you're dissatisfied. You're not happy because they didn't give you enough. But the thing is, understand that they didn't have to give you what they gave you. We allow these things. We allow fear. We allow negativity. We allow being dissatisfied and those thoughts, and it ends up caging you up. And you don't even realize it, so now you're living a life like that. Understand negative thinking is a choice. You choose to think that way or not. And also, I want you to understand this. If you want to really get deep into it, you can just use me for example. You can look and you pick and choose if you want to see something negative in this or if you want to see something positive out of it. You can look at me and find every fault that I have, or you can look at me and find something positive. It's your choice. You choose what you want to look for. You can go out in the woods and you can be looking for one specific thing, but you can also find many other different things. So you choose. You want to find something negative, or you choose if you want to find something positive in some way. The battle is fought in the mind. The battle is fought in the mind. Jeremiah 12:3. It says, and I want you to really listen to this. But as for me, Lord, you know my heart. You see me and test my thoughts. Drag these people away like sheep to the butcher. Set them aside to be slaughtered. That last part, I'm going to say that again. Set them aside to be slaughtered. Understand that you've got to take those negative thoughts and you've got to send them to the butcher. You've got to cut their head off. You've got to begin to cut those things off that try to live, because here's the thing, you kick it and you can kick it and you can kick it, but it's still alive. The reason David cut Goliath's head off, he can knock him out with a rock, but you cut his head off, you know you got him done. It's over. You can say something and you kick those thoughts down and you can tell them where to go, but if you don't take them to the slaughterhouse, they're still going to come back to life. They're going to come back and they're going to haunt you. And that's where I think we live at a lot of times. We come to this altar and we'll kneel down and say, God, please take care of this. God, help me in this. God, save my life. God, save my parents. But the problem is those negative thoughts, you continue to allow them to live. We don't know how to kill them, because you don't understand the power, the dynamite that God has put in your life when you accepted Him as your Savior. You got to send negative thoughts. You got to send fearful thoughts. You got to send poisonous thoughts to the slaughterhouse to kill them. Here's the thing, guys. I don't know about y'all, but I watched a movie one time where they hit a deer. And I'm not going to name the name of the movie because some of y'all probably start laughing, but they hit a deer. And they thought they killed the deer, but they put the deer in the back of the car, and it was a convertible. Guess what? 5 miles down the road, the deer woke up. And you know what had happened? It went nuts. Because they didn't kill it. They just knocked it out. Tonight we've got to stop knocking it out and we've got to start killing it. We've got to stop knocking it out and we've got to kill it. We've got to learn how to be warriors in here and stop being knockout artists. You can ball your fist up, you can hit something as hard as you can, but if you don't kill it, it's going to come back for you. It's going to come back for you. Philippians 4, 7 through 8, it says, then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard you, or guard your heart. It will guard your mind as you live in Jesus Christ. And now, dear brother and sister, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true, on what is honorable, what is right, what is pure, what is lovely, and what is admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Now see, this is where you end up. If you don't take those things to the slaughterhouse, if you don't take those things and you kill them, this is what ends up happening. You end up being restricted. You end up being jailed in. You end up being limited. And there's not a whole lot you can do. I can tell you about Jesus from here, but there ain't a whole lot I can do from there. Jesus, I love you, but I'm stuck right here and I can't do a whole lot for you. God, I know you called me, but I need to stay in here because I just can't get out. Tonight, this is the place that we live. This is where your hearts lie. This is your life because we've allowed the enemy to come in and poison us. And we become okay. We make us a bed over in this corner and we make ourselves at home. Because we don't understand the power that God's given us. We don't understand that dynamite that the Holy Spirit brings to the table when we accept Him into our life. And so we decide to live our life right here. We decide to live our life right here. Romans 12:2, it says, transform and be renewed by your thoughts, by the power of your thoughts. Tonight, some of us in here need to be renewed. Tonight, some of us need to understand that we've got to get out of the cage. Because there's not a whole lot I can do right here. I can speak to you. I can yell at you. I can say, get right! He's coming! But there's not a whole lot I can do. You see, there's so many people, and maybe some of you in here, you live here, and you're okay with it. You got enough room, you got some arm room, you got some leg room, you're okay. This is comfortable. I can make this work. I can make this work. Guys, God didn't call us to live a life to make it work. He called us to a life of freedom. He called us to live a life dunamis with dynamite power. Because you understand that Jesus came to this earth and He wasn't some weakling that lived inside of a cage. Because if He lived inside of a cage, He never would have died on a cross. But He was strong and He was bold. And He spoke the truth even when they didn't want to hear it. Even when they told Him to be quiet, He still spoke truth. Tonight, guys, I need you to understand that's not the place that you want to live. Knowing that there's 4 walls that limit your emotions. limit your walking. And understand that the enemy's like, okay, I'll move it this far, but you're still limited. It's like putting a dog on a leash. You can only go this far. You can make your little crop circle in the yard. That's as far as you can do. You can make a little bit of noise, but I'm not going to let you go too far. And that's the lie that we believe. Because we believe and we begin to deceive ourselves after we believe the lie, after we've allowed the poison to sit in, we begin to deceive ourselves in thinking this is all that God has for me. Tonight, understand, you have barely experienced what God has for you. This is not the life that He asked you to live. This is not what Jesus died on the cross for, so we can have our own little cage. Tonight, in closing, I'm reminded of an elephant. Circus elephant. Maybe some of you have been to one. But if you ever really noticed that big 11,000-pound massive powerhouse, the way that the circus people keep them, the trainers, the tamers, the way they keep an elephant, the most powerful animal on the face of the earth, they keep him captive, they keep him on a chain, and they put a wooden peg in the ground. And he doesn't try to escape. Understand that if you tied an elephant to the biggest tree you could think of, he can snap that thing like if we snapped a toothpick. That powerful. But the reason that elephant it stays on this wooden peg about that far, they drive in the ground in this neat little chain that's less of a gauge than what they put on a swing set. Yes, he could snap it in a heartbeat. He wouldn't even have to try. But he stays in his circle and he stays right there. Even with the world just inside, he never tries to escape. And the reason is when that elephant was a baby, when he was just a measly 200 pounds, they put the chain, thicker of heavy, and in metal stakes, there's at least this long when they put it into the ground. And they tie that chain to their leg. And that little 200-pound baby elephant can't pull that metal peg and that big chain out of the ground. And every time that he tries to, what happens is that chain, every time he tugs, every time he tries to get away, that chain scars up and it makes his leg, it wounds it and makes it bleed. And so as that elephant grows, it's reminded that, you know what, if I pull on this chain much, then I'm going to scar my leg up and it's going to hurt. So as that 200-pound baby elephant grows into a 10 feet tall, 11,000-pound massive monster, it never tries to escape because it's reminded when it was a baby what that chain can do to its leg if it even tugs on it just a little bit. It's reminded of the wound that it was given when it tugged. Even though it's a lighter chain, even though it's a wooden stake that's maybe a foot long, that all he had to do was sneeze and it would hop out, he's reminded that, you know what, if I tug too hard, if I push too much, it's going to hurt. And I don't want it to hurt. And so that's how trainers in the circus, they take a baby elephant, or they take an adult elephant, and that's why it never tries to move or try to escape. It just stands there. A lot of times you don't even see them walking around. They just stand there. They just stand there because they're reminded of what happened when they were little. He's reminded what happened in the past, and that I don't want to hurt anymore. So I'm just going to stay right here. I'm going to do what they tell me to do. I'm going to stay inside my cage. I'm going to stay in a parameter that I know that's safe. I'm going to stay there because I don't want to bleed. I don't want to hurt. Tonight, if everybody will, bow your heads. Tonight, the enemy has chained you up and he's wounded you. And every time you think you want to break loose, you're reminded. You're reminded of your limits. You're reminded of what he said you can't do. You're reminded of what someone negatively spoke into your life. And you don't even try. You just get back in your cage. Because you know that's where it's safe. Because you know that's where it's safe. Tonight I'm here to tell you that God said, you know what? I'm here to heal you and I'm here to renew you. I'm here to restore you. If you just let me, if you'll just open the door and step out of your cage. Step out of your fear. If you'll step out of that negative life that you've just become accustomed to, I can renew you. I can give you the power to overcome. I can heal those wounds that hurt you every time. And I can not only heal them, but I can do away with them. You'll never have to face them again. Guys, tonight, thoughts control me. They make me believe what I can and cannot do. And there's some of you in here that God has really been weighing on your heart. Or maybe God's just knocking and He's knocking and He's knocking. And I want you to understand that God is persistent. Maybe there's some wounds in your life that you just don't even want to touch. You don't even want to really think about because they hurt that bad. Maybe it's something that's been way down the road several years ago, several months ago. Or maybe that's something that's happened here recently. And I'm here to tell you that God said, I will heal you. And not only will I heal you, but I will transform you and restore your thoughts. I'll restore your mind. I will restore your confidence. And I will give you the power. So tonight, I'm asking you, with everybody's head down and eyes closed, I'm asking you, is there anyone in this place that you feel like you've been inside of this cage? You feel like that elephant and you've been chained up, and you've been wounded, and you've been limited, you've been put in a box. You've allowed your thoughts to control yourself. Control who you are and control what you say. Even control the man or woman of God that God has called you to be. Tonight, just with your raise of hands tonight, how many of us in here allow our thoughts to control us? Just raise your hand. Just raise your hand. Nobody's looking around. Just raise your hand. Because tonight, God wants to see that. Keep your hands raised because that's just a symbol or symbolic of surrender. You're saying, God, I surrender my thoughts. God, I surrender who I am. God, I surrender the things that I've believed in the past. God, I surrender. God, I love you. And God, I want to do what you've called me to do. I want to speak life. I want to be life. I want to be your light and your reflection. You can put your hands down. Tonight, maybe you're in this room and you say, you know what, some of the things maybe that you said, it's reminded me of some things that I've been thinking or going through. But maybe you've never really sold your life out to Jesus. Maybe tonight you've been going through the motions, and maybe you're that person that makes people think that you live a good life, but maybe deep down you truly, maybe, you don't have that relationship that you know that you need to have with God. Tonight, if that's you, if you say, you know what, I want to restore my relationship with God, or I want to ask Him in my life for the very, very first time. Tonight, if that's you, if there's anyone in this place, if you'll just raise your hand. Nobody's looking. Nobody's looking. Because God just wants to restore. God wants to love on you. And God wants to give you hope. He wants to give you promise. He wants to give you life. Anyone else? Anyone else? Put your hands down. Tonight, I want to ask you that have raised your hand tonight. I want to ask you, I want to open these altars open for you tonight. Because I truly believe that there's some business that you need to deal with God. There's some things that you just need to lay down tonight. See, when we go to the altar, that is symbolic of laying those things at His feet. I'm saying, God, I no longer want these in my life. I'm giving them to you to deal with. God, can you cleanse me? Like that song said tonight, your blood has cleansed me. He's already died for you. He's already got the victory. You just got to accept it and live with it. So tonight, if you raised your hand because you want to surrender those thoughts and start believing in the life that God has given you, and if you want to surrender those wounds tonight, or if you want to ask Jesus in your life for the first time or rededicate your life, I want to open these altars up for you right now. So if that was you, if you raise your hand, these altars are open. These altars are open. If you want to get out of the cage tonight, come step up here and He's got the key. He's got the answer. If you're sick of believing the lies of the enemy and you need an ally, Jesus is on your side. He's on your side. Leaders, if you will, if you'll come and begin to pray with some of these and begin to intercede with some of these. Students, I'm telling you tonight, the longer that you allow something to live, the longer that it's going to control you. The longer that you let something live in your life, the longer that it will control you. Poison is venomous. It's deadly. If we continue to allow those things in our life, it will kill us. It will kill you. Tonight, if you're sitting out here, if you see a friend and maybe you want to pray with them, you guys go right ahead. I'm okay with that. If you want to come and intercede and just lay a hand on one of them, that's fine. Tonight, we just want them to know. We want to have some healing in this place tonight. Tonight is about healing wounds. It's about opening doors and knowing there's no restriction. It's about getting out of your cage.